Hey, this is Jeremy Hazelwood. Welcome to this month's training on Fundraisers Unite. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about social media and mainly social media editorial calendars. Now, attached within this particular post, you'll see a link to a file where you can actually download the template that I'll be reviewing today on the video. You can also review it in the resources section of Fundraisers Unite, where I'll have a link directly to this Excel file. Now, the file is in Excel, so if you don't have Excel, as I walk through it here, as I walk through the video, I know it'll be more difficult, but maybe you can take some of the ideas that I talk about here and you can create them in other forms that you may use. However, the idea of this is to understand more a strategic approach to your social media editorial calendar as opposed to a tactical approach. And I think before we even get into that, we need to talk a little bit about social media and what social media channels your organization should be getting involved with. And the baseline is Facebook. And you probably already know this, but it's because Facebook has the largest percentage of your donor audience across any social media platform. And is that a general statement? Yes, it is. Now, if your donor audience is comprised of early 20s or millennials, then Facebook may not be the spot for you to start with. You definitely still want to have a presence there. But by and large, most nonprofits, the donor demographic does tend to skew a little bit older, that 55 plus. And over the past few years, Facebook has grown tremendously with that particular demographic. So you want to fish where the fish are and definitely have a presence and prioritize your social media channels based on where your donor audience is. Now, especially many nonprofits have a very limited amount of resources or personnel that they can devote to social media content. And if it's one person doing everything, you may not be able to do all social media channels. And the way I look at it is there's two ways you can approach social media. You can go very deep on one or two social media channels, or you can dip your toe in and spread yourself thin and have a presence across all social media channels. And the most sound approach, in my opinion, is to go very deep within those one or two where a predominant amount of your donors are. Now, should you have an account on TikTok or Snapchat, even if your donors aren't there? I would say 100% yes. And just by having an account, what this does is it claims your online and your social media real estate so that when you do branch out into those channels, you would still have your username secured. You would have your branding in place over there. Even if you're not active in them, I would go ahead and still secure those particular accounts. And you can make a list of those accounts and just knock them out one by one. But then land on, here is the social media channel that we're going to go all in on, and this is what we're going to build our content around. And now let's talk about content for a minute. What types of content should you create? Should you create status updates, images, videos, slideshows? You know, what kind of content? And the answer is yes, do all of it. You certainly want to test different types of content. Typically, images and video will perform better than a status update, though there are exceptions to the rule. And so you want to think about, especially from a Facebook perspective, and that's really what I'm going to focus on in this video, is Facebook will reward posts that do well. So if you're posting a lot of content that doesn't do well, it's actually going to affect where your content falls within the algorithm and who gets to see your particular posts. So you want to make sure that you post first and foremost about quality of posts, even if it's only once or twice a week, as opposed to quantity. If you're posting 7 days a week, but none of your posts are relevant or engaging and you have 0 likes, comments, or shares, then that's not really helping out your social media program. And you're putting a lot of effort into something that has little to no reward. So you want to create from a perspective where, does this content make sense? Will this get a reaction? Is this something that if I were the donor or a part of my social media community that I would find interesting, that I might want to even give it a thumbs up and like? And if it checks that box, then by any means post it. And I'd also recommend having a couple of sets of eyes once you finalize your editorial calendar to have people look at it and just to get their opinions. And there might be some tweaks that they can make, or they may have other ideas for posts. But you certainly want to have deadlines in place because the content will need to be posted. Now, once your content is created, the template that I have here is just almost a repository and a way to organize your posts. But naturally, you would still have to post the content, whether you do that directly in Facebook or if you use a tool like Buffer or Hootsuite to schedule posts. There's a few different ways that you can do that, and I'm not talking about that in this particular video. What I'm focusing on is just the creation of your content and organizing how you create your content. And I'll talk a little bit about this in here, but starting with strategy instead of tactics. Too many times I see not just nonprofits, but companies in general will just start to throw out a whole bunch of social media posts. And it seems very random, nothing seems connected. But you have to keep in mind that what you post is also a part of your brand, and you want your brand voice to be very focused. And part of what I do with this file and what we'll be talking about in this video is creating themes for your content. And now you start to think about things strategically. Like instead of just posting random things, before you post, you question, does this ladder up to one of these different themes that we've established? And if it does, then it makes the editorial calendar. If it doesn't, then it may be something that never sees the light of day. Okay, so let's jump into this file and I'll walk you through it all, and hopefully through this you'll gain some insights about how to organize your own social media program. Okay, so starting on the very first page, it says directions start here. So naturally, you should read all this. It's not a ton on here, but it gives you a little bit of background on what each of these different things mean. So I won't read this here now. You can read that on your own time. We'll skip over to this themes and definitions. Now, everything in this file that you see in yellow are things that you need to actually complete yourself. So if it's not in, and also a lot of things that are in yellow link to other areas of the document. So you want to pay attention. You'll see some yellow throughout this document. That just means you need to actually complete this. And I pre-populated this on here. It used to say theme 1, so let's just put it back at theme 1. But when you think about social media, what you'll want to do is think about different themes of content. And these are not topics, these are themes. So if I'm a humanitarian nonprofit, maybe one of my themes is programs. And again, I'll go ahead and put programs back here. Theme 2. Oh goodness, I can't type. Okay. But within my programs, maybe I have a food pantry, perhaps I have homeless services, maybe I have adult rehab. So those are 3 different topics and 3 different programs, but they all fall into the program theme. So you can have different topics about homelessness, different topics about food pantry, different topics about, or different posts rather, about adult rehab, but all of those roll up into the program's theme that you'll be posting about. Another theme that you might look at is perhaps culture. Maybe you want to talk about the culture of your organization. And what this does is it lets the outside world, the community, your donors know what your values are. This may include posts about your leadership. It may include posts about your vision, include posts about your community involvement. So there's different things that you can put in here for culture. And I'm not saying these are the themes that you need to go by. These are just examples. The best way, and really what I recommend, the approach that you take with your themes, because these are so instrumental in your social media program, is to circle up with your stakeholders and have a meeting about it. And I know it's like not another meeting, but make this an important and productive meeting about the different themes. And when you get together with these stakeholders, this could be your leadership, it could be marketing and communications folks, development folks, whatever that looks like for your organization, get in a room, have a whiteboard or a notepad, and just have a brainstorm. What are the different things that our nonprofit can talk about? And don't think so much of themes as you do topics. What are different things we do? What's special about our organization? What's unique about us? Who do we serve? And just write all these things down. And once you have a whole long list of different topics or items that are associated with your nonprofit, now you start to connect the dots between some of these. And you say, you know what, this and this and this are kind of similar. So let's put that into a theme bucket. And so through this, I recommend 4 themes because really what this does is it helps to keep your communication focused. You could have more themes than that. You know, the template I have here allows up to 4 themes. Maybe there's only 3 different themes that you want to talk about. But I recommend 4 just because it gives you enough variety without spreading yourself too thin. And as you come up with a theme, you'll put all 4 of them here. You know, I have programs, theme 2, theme 3, theme 4, and you write a little bit about the definitions. So for doing programs, the definition of that theme may be, we'll say, either topics include, or you could say posts about, homelessness, food pantry, adult rehab, as an example. So that way you know what falls into this particular category. Now over here to the right, I have a percentage of social media messaging. And what this means is, if I look at these 4 different themes, what is the percentage of posts over the course of a month that will include this particular theme? And I have this here set to 40, 20, 10, 30. And these are just random. I just pulled them out of the sky. This is not anything. And you have, again, this is in yellow, so you have full ability to change these numbers how you see fit. The important thing is, of course, you want it to equal 100%. And you can do that by using a calculator, using brain math, or if you highlight all of these, it will show down here, some 100%. I'm going to keep this how it is for now. Maybe you do 25% just across the board, and every theme has an equal say through your social media calendar. Again, this may work for you, it may not. If one of your themes is events, you may not have 25% of your posts that can talk about an event. And during the holiday season, maybe 40% of your posts talk about it. So you can update this each month as you find necessary. And this will be important because, again, this links to the content page, which we'll get to. Actually, no. Yeah, content page, which we'll get to here in a moment. Let's look at the next tab, which is monthly planning calendar. Within the monthly planning calendar, again, everything in yellow are things that you would actually highlight yourself. Let me clean this up a little bit so I can talk to you about it. Okay, so this one is December 29th. And you can update this based on whatever month it is and whatever year it is. So the important thing to remember here within Excel is that you see where my cursor is right now. You need to allow a space before you put the name. And I'll show you why. If I don't have a space in there and I put December 2019, it will format differently. And if that's okay with you, then fine. But for me, I like to see the whole month. So I'm kind of strange like that. I don't know. So if I'm typing December in, I'll make sure I do space, then December. And then you can just, type in whatever the month and year is. Okay, so let's go through this. Over here on the left, you'll see notes. And you'll see an X on posting dates. And the notes would be any particular day. For example, we're December, so we'll look at December 25th being Christmas. So a note that I might put there is Christmas. And I'd probably post on Christmas, so I'll put an X there. Now, if you'll notice, December 29th up here, it actually says December 29th down here as well. And it's not highlighted in yellow, so this links. Whatever you put up here at the top will link right here. And the calendar days, there's 31 days in December. For the sake of this post, I put 16. So as you look at the course of a month, you have to decide how many times will we post in a particular month. And that depends on your resources that you have internally, how many people you have devoted to creating social media content. Maybe it's only once a week, so maybe it's 4 times. Maybe you're able to publish 3 times a week, so you're looking at maybe 13 to 14 times a month. But whatever that is, you would put that number in here. So for the sake of December, I'll put 16. Okay, now also other ways that you can use notes. Maybe you have an event in December, so maybe it's on the 20th, so I'll put event here because I want to remember that there's an event there, and I'm going to post about the event that day, so I'll put an X there. And also this week, maybe we want to have another post about promoting the event. So I would do event promo and I'll put an X here. And one of the ways that I go about determining what days of the week that I will put a post on Facebook is I'll look at the Facebook Insights. So if you go to your Facebook page and select Insights and then go to Posts, you'll be able to see a chart at the top that looks like a whale. I call it the whale graph because it literally looks like a whale. And what I'll do with this is it shows you the day of week and the amount of people that are on your Facebook community that have logged in and that are on Facebook each day of the week. And a lot of the times the numbers will be very similar because most people log into Facebook almost every day. But, so what I'll do is I'll look at what the highest days are and I'll make those the priority days. It doesn't mean like if Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are the highest on Facebook that I'm only going to post Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But I certainly will take that into account that these are the days where there's more people on. So I want to make sure that my more important posts hit on those days. And you may have a day that is just totally much less than all the others. And it doesn't mean that I won't post on those days, but it means that I won't put a priority on those. You know, maybe I'll throw one post a month on that day just to see if I can prime it a little bit and get more people involved. So that's one way that I would go about deciding what days of the week I want to post. Another way that I would decide is looking at any kind of events that we may have coming up, or any campaigns that I may have. If I have an email going out on a particular day, I may want to send a Facebook post the day of, or the day before, the day after, just to fall in line with what that post will, or with what that campaign email will be, to help amplify the overall campaign. Okay, so for the sake of this, I'm just going to put in, because we have 16 here, I'm just going to throw 16 X's in. Oh, actually, a quick note before I do that. If you'll notice here, you know, naturally, this is all formulas, so there's not 37 days in December, as we know. So you can either delete these here and delete these here. If you know Excel enough to redo formulas, then you can totally just rebuild this out each month and relink the formulas. It doesn't really bother me if I have it up to 37, because I know there's only 31 days in December. So for the sake of this training video, I'll just keep this how it is. Okay, so let me put in what days that I would want to post. So I'm just going to go about 3 days a week, and I'm doing this randomly right now because I want to illustrate a point here. Oops, that's in the notes. So I have 14, 15, we'll do 16. So there's 4, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Oh, that's 17. Oh, that's 16, sorry. My head math is a little bit off. Once I do this, once I have decided what days of the week that I want to post, and if I've added any notes on days that I want to make sure that I have a post on, I will go over to the content page. And this content page, to familiarize you with this, it has a date of the post, an image or video, which I'll show you how I use that here in a moment, whatever the message will be. If the message ties into a particular campaign that you're running or a holiday, you can document this here. It has day of week. If you want to document the day of the week of the post. Now, I used to use this quite a bit when I first came up with this template, but I haven't used it a lot, but I kept it in here because it may be useful for your organization. And then the themes, and you see we have programs, theme 2, theme 3, theme 4, and those are linked directly to whatever you put in here, programs, theme 2, theme 3, theme 4, those will automatically update over here. And this is the part that helps to keep you on track from a strategic level with the types of content that you're putting out there and making sure that it aligns with your percentages. So let me give you an example of this. Like our first post is on December 2nd. So what that would look like on the content, I would do 12:2, image or video. One of the things that I'll do is if I have the image in my files on my computer, I'll go ahead and I'll drag it over, and I'll just resize it just so I can contextually see what that image is. You can also put a link to where this file is on your computer. So there's different ways that you can use this. I typically will drag the image over so I can see the thumbnail image of it. And then you would type your message here. So maybe, you know, we'll type in, it's December. Do you know where your donors are? And this is all caps. Naturally, I wouldn't do that because I don't want to be yelling at my audience. And I'll just put not available, or you can leave it blank. Day of the week, I believe this was a Tuesday. Oh, it's a Monday. All right. And let's just say that this post was a post that went along with our programs theme. I would put a 1 there. Now at the bottom, we'll stay on the content page. And the reason that this is important, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, I'm keeping a running tally for you. And again, it has all the themes over here on the left side. And these, again, link to your themes and definitions tab. So this will update automatically. Your messaging mix target will be whatever this messaging mix is. So you see 40, 20, 10, 30, 40, 20, 10, 30. So you don't need to touch that. Now, as you complete this, and you use 1 so that it will sum at the bottom. You see right now we have 1 post. There's 1 actual post. 100% of my posts are about programs. All right, so you see that right now. We're going to go back to that here in a moment. Typically my approach with this is I will take these dates, so December 4th, 5th, and 6th, and I'll just start filling this out. And you see I'm just putting the month and the day because it will already populate the year on there. Let's see, 9, 12, 11, 14. Oh, 13, 12, 13, 14, sorry. Let's do this. 12, 13, 14. All right, 17 and 20. Twenty-two, 23, 25, 27. 12:30, 12:31. Okay, so we have all of our dates over here now based on what we put in our monthly planning calendar. So what you'll do, and I'm not going to complete this whole calendar during this training. This is just a demo so you see how to do it. But what I am going to show you is, and I'm just going to put numbers randomly over here. Let's assume that our 12/4 post was about theme 2, and so was the one on the 5th. And I'm just going to go, whoops, and you want to make sure that there's only 1 per line. So if you already have something here, and you want to make sure it falls under 1 theme. If you have something that falls under 2 different themes, that kind of one of those in-between pieces of content, make sure that you only put it down on 1 theme. Otherwise, it's going to throw off your percentages down at the bottom. All right, so let's keep going here, and I'll just fill this out. Okay, so now we're through 12:31. When we go to the bottom here, we have 16 targeted, 16 total, and now let's look at our percentages. We'd planned 40% of our posts to be about programs, and only 19% of them are. 38% are coming in for theme 2 when we only planned 20. Now the good thing about this is that as you're creating posts, that's the difference between strategy and tactics. If you just create a whole bunch of posts and then scroll to the bottom to see how you did, then you've done it the wrong way. So as you're creating posts, you want to be very intentional. And as you start creating, you want to look at this bottom and notice how the percentages start filling in. So if it does start to become lopsided in any particular area versus another, then you'll want to make sure that you schedule in posts that fill into the other themes that you have. And these aren't necessarily going to be perfect because of how the percentages roll out and how many posts that you're doing a month, whether or not it fits into the actual mix or not. But it should be somewhere in the ballpark. And again, this is a guide. It doesn't have to be straight up 40% are programs, 20% are theme 2. These are ballpark numbers, and this is structure and a framework around your social media posting. And it will keep track of all of this here for you. If you need to make adjustments, you can. If you have too many that are in theme 4, then what you might want to do is copy that one and paste it into another document that you can use for a future month. That way you're already starting to get ahead in your future documents. Okay, so that is how this particular piece works. Like these 3 tabs right here are really the crux of this editorial calendar, and they go in a cycle. You want to fill out your themes and your definitions first, and you may only have to do this once. What I would recommend is that you revisit your themes maybe every 6 to 12 months and decide, are these still the best themes that we think represent our organization and that we can build content around, or do we need to modify these themes? And that's something that you can decide. You can also look at your mix over here, and this may be something you want to check on a monthly or bi-monthly basis and make sure that you know, if there's events coming up, you may want to tilt it a little bit towards events if that's one of your themes. So you want to look at what you have coming up within your organization and adjust any of the messaging percentages that you need to. Once you're done with that, you would update this calendar, and with the correct days, put the correct month, the number of days in the month, how many days of the month you want to post, and then of course the content, where you actually put the copy that you create, the images that you create, and you can take screenshots of those and drag them over here, or just drag the files straight over so you can see what those look like. And you definitely want to make sure that after each post that you complete over here, that it falls into one of these buckets. And as you're creating it, if it doesn't fall into one of these, it needs to be out of the calendar, because that's how you retain focus in your social media program. All right, so let's check out these last two tabs. This is pretty quick here. Your content parking lot. This is really if you have ideas that don't necessarily fit into this month's calendar, or if you do have too much content in one particular theme and it needs to sit out this month, you can put that idea over here. So the topic could be, and I just put this kind of as a dummy, I had an idea to do X or to talk about X. If you have a website that you're referencing, or maybe there was an article that you wanted to pull some insights from that sparked an idea, you can put the website there. If you've used this piece of content already, then you would just say Y for yes. But if you haven't used this content yet on a calendar, then you would put N for no. Additional notes. And I just put go back and review the article here and discuss insights. So, I mean, this is pretty basic. It's like if you have a question or comment or observation about your calendar, or something that you want to talk about that doesn't necessarily fit in this month, this is where you would put that. We call it the parking lot. And the last one here is just a notes tab for additional notes. So instead of putting notes on a notepad outside of this document, you can keep everything related to your social media within this one file. And so this can be useful for you as well. All right, now the last thing I want to show you is, all right, December is over, a new month is upon us. So how do we get our calendar ready for the next month? And typically before I do anything, before I change anything on here, I'll do a file, save as, and then I would save it as whatever the next month is. So we're at December 2019 now. If it's January 2020, before I change anything on the document, I would do File, Save As, and rename it Social Media Calendar January 2020. And after I rename it, after I do the Save As, I will start with the content piece. And essentially, I'll clear out the whole calendar. So I'll highlight everything, delete it. I'll scroll down to the bottom to make sure I have 0 actuals, which I do. Then I'll look at the monthly planning calendar, and I'll start to update this in January 2020. And I know that because December 31st was on a Tuesday, January 1st will be on a Wednesday. So what I'll do is I'll clear these out, because that's just my approach that I go about with it. And I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'll see once you complete this top row, everything else is a formula. Okay, and again, you know, I know January goes through the 31st, so I don't mind having 32, 33, 34 on here. If that bothers you, then get rid of it. And then you can, for February, if you need to update the calendar with those formulas, you can add that. And then I'll go through and I'll clear this part of the calendar out. And you'll notice down here it's updated to January 2020. It's 31 days in a month, which, you know, you put in yourself. That's already in there. That will change for February, obviously, because February doesn't have 30 days. And posting days, maybe this month I only want to do 12 days. And now I'll go through January and look at what days are important. Probably January 1st, New Year's Day, and I'll put a post, and so on and so forth. I'll put my X's on the days that I want to post. I'll come over to the content, fill in those dates over here on the left side, and then I'll start to build out my content. Okay? That is the social media editorial calendar that I've used for years in some form or fashion. I've made a few tweaks here and there over the years, but I use this with not only nonprofits, but also commercial clients that I work with. And I've used this with billion-dollar companies. It's the same thing that I use. It helps me out. It helps me to organize my social media posting that I do. And, you know, naturally there's paid tools that you can use that do something similar, but if you're scrappy or if you're trying to save money, this is a perfect calendar for you. And once you do this 1 or 2 months in a row, you'll have it down, and it's something that will save you time. It will help your social media to be focused, and it will really help you out with your messaging, your branding, and really help your social media start to gain some traction. So if you have any questions or comments about this, please leave a message in the comments section or shoot me a note. And if you do use this, I'd love to hear if you have a success story for me and something that you found very insightful about this that you're able to take and use with your organization, because I learn from you all. I learn from I will say the constructive feedback, and also learn from you all with the positive feedback. And if there's a feature in here that you say, man, Jeremy, I really wish the calendar had this in it, you know, let me know about it. And that's something that I might be able to build into a future iteration of the social media calendar. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching this training. Download this file. I hope that you have an awesome day. Thank you for all the work that you do raising money for nonprofits all across the world. So I'm on this journey with you to help make this world a better place. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great day.